Hey everyone, the reason I'm pointing in a Taomata canister is because I just want to point out the Bionicle storyline about during years when there weren't any Bionicles before I head to Legends of Metro Nui. I just want to point out favorite parts of these guys. It's the reason I cannot count least favorite parts because I would only count on that on film reviews. And there aren't any films based on these guys yet. So I just want to point out favorite parts of these guys are the origins that they start out as these guys. They emerge out of the canisters as they build themselves, using their weapons, the mask powers, and they collect different colored masks. Like Tao finds the red Bakara that grants him strength, and Nono has to find the red How and all that. And they collect all the masks. The idea you use this top part as a suva to house all the kind of masks to collect, and you can emerge the three tower into a kaita. And the idea that the canister is has got a character sleeve. It's got an outer sleeve that. Sorry, I'm going to use my feet. So I'm going to use my foot. But you get to slide it like this. You get to slide the whole thing like this. Yes, you can see I'm sliding the sleeve. Eve. 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 And the Taomata Tower's canister and instructions inside are strong commemoratives at the start of Bionicle. And the idea of the Makuta, you see him as a stone, and when you watch the Matter and Lion Game clips after original course of levels, when those are the Matoran, I think that's how it goes. I haven't played that game, but I have a feeling that's what it might be. Is that it turns out to be a Matoran, which looks all rusted. And one thing that troubles me is that the Matorans, during the 2004 years, they call them Matorans, and it tells them when they then called them Tohunga, and then tells them until they came back to being Matoran. If any ideas what reason let them call them Tohunga for a long gap, up until they changed the Matoran, let me know story-wise though, because I know real life-wise that Tohunga is another term to use belongs to someone else, which is why it tells them until they change the name to Matoran. But story-wise, I need to find out why they called them Tohunga after the events of the Metro Nui saga. And favorite part of the Matoran is you get to have them shrunken down size. You have them shrunk down, you get to hurl discs at them. And the Chiraga, you get to function their arms to hurl the staff at something. The Rahi, you get to have the infected masks. Of course, the Moak and Kanera the Moak and Kanera, so that's the Moak are the ones with the infected masks. And the idea how Liwa is victimized as one of those, gets victimized wearing those masks. And the Toa testing out their talents. If you saw those Taomata clips, like Tao sitting on lava, Onua tunneling the tunnels, and Liwa swinging to the tree vines and landing on a tree branch, and Kopaka freezing froze a bunch of ice boulders about to hit through him, and he downs it with a little tip in that. And how the first year was too much Chroniclish-like when you look at it, and it is like its first year. And of course, this is in essence, we still think of Slice and Roborai as the word Technic on the first year sets. Until 2002, the Technic word is gone. Like this guy with the Borak, you can see it. There's no Technic. And the favorite part of Borak is that you could have canister sets that you could use to rival with these guys with good guy canisters, and the brains inside called Krana. You get to put leech like into the Toa heads and the Matoran Taraga heads. Originally I thought when I was young, I thought that in the commercials when Tao wore the Krana, it transformed his body to a Borak, but no, the Borak and the Toa are separate characters. When the Krana is worn by any living being, Karak and Garak can instantly control the bodies. What I mean by Karak and Garak being the one to control the bodies, because according to Bionicle Sector 01, the Karak and Garak are the ones who are the queens of the Karak and Garak are the queens of the Borak, then they're the ones who must be controlling the Krana alive. And the favorite part of the Borak, you get to morph them into becoming this in order to fit them in the cannon, so you can fold out the arms and legs when it's battling time. The snapping jaw that you can do. Open the head plate to eject a crown out, and flip these colored fangs to eject a crown out. Of course, people may think these are eyes. I'd rather think these. See the orange things there? People may think them as eyes. I think them as teeth because the real eyes are actually in the crown. And like the Toa, they do have Kaita and the same color, and the same 3 colors to merge to a Kaita fusion. For example, we have Taupo and Nua, who are red, brown, and black guys. The Borak, the Tanak, Paragon, Nuvak, the red, brown, and black Borak are like that too. And the idea that we get to have more Matoran, like the Nuparu Boxer, to be used as a soldier against the Borak. The Exotoa you put these guys into. And speaking of that, you get Golden Konohi, you get to place on these guys, you get to have it to represent, and you got a collection of masks and put them on the Toa. There are some Konohi represent you partially collected the masks, so. And Karak and Garak, you get to have the leaders of the Borak. And there's a nest in which leads me to wonder whether if it is part of Matanui or it's actually in Metro Nui. The fact it's a bit complicated to know. And Karak and Garak also have snapping jaws like the Borak. And the idea that the Toa got gifted by the Borak nest because after defeating Karak and Garak, they're still inside the Borak chambers. Those platforms those platform circle paths they were standing at, dunked down, plunged them into silver liquid, transforming them into these guys. And to the Golden Konoe, and that leaves me wondering if they're still in Golden. If these guys, was it they're still in Golden Konoe, and exactly how they changed the color. Now I understand why that is. The reason it reverted back into original color because the masks they collect are scattered now to transform into becoming Konoe Nuva to collect. So that's why the colors. That's why the masks are back in the original colors. That's why I realized. And even if they did collect all the Konoe Nuva, I doubt Artaka created a Golden Konoe Nuva. For whatever reason of a story Greg couldn't have time to write about, there might be a reason why Artaka did not create a Golden Konoe Nuva, even though they did collect all the masks. And the favorite part of these guys, you get to have 2 weapons, and you get to use them for melee battle or combine them for certain effects. Like this guy, you could put them on his feet for lava board. Puato, you put his climbing clothes as a Kodan ball. Onua's quake breakers to put on his feet for tunneling with his feet. Gali's aqua axis, you could use his fins for flying as flipper fins to swim with great speed. Liu's air katana blades you could put on the side. You could put on the side of his arms to fly around. Kopaka's ice blades which you could use the same way to stick Onua's quake breakers, but to ski around. And he has a larger shield that could put two Matoran in. And the silver paddings made me think the Protodermis must have created silver paddings. Of course, you get the idea where the silver paddings came from. And second of all, the Hortika have the silver paddings too. But not because of the Protodermis you wonder, because you know how Hortika was created. And these guys, the cylinders could serve as the Protodermis tubes, and the top parts could serve as a super shrine, which you could use to put the orange mask of time for Tao to wear the mask of time with. And of course, the favorite part of the mask of time system, you get to have the great discs, where, well, okay, maybe I'll save it when I reach the Toa-metric point. And as you can see here, that's what the second functions of those blades can do. And the 3 dots and the 2 curve were first seen on this guy, which I did see that, but barely paid attention to it. Then saw that curve again on the Borak, but barely paid attention. Then I've seen this in the Borak Kyle canisters, which I barely paid attention to that. But watching Mask of Light, I was able to find out about it. Then Legends of Metro Web of Shadows, then found out about the 3 dots and the 2 curves. But then from 2006, 2008, there's barely much attention to the 3 dots and the curve and the 2 curves until 2009 they brought that back. Then the favorite part of the Borak Kal is that you could have like a second version of the Borak to rival up with these guys, and the Karana Kal to go to the Toa Nuva's heads, which kind of plays a Nuva version of these guys. A secondary form version of these guys. That's the favorite part of them. And I think that wraps my story. Okay, I've thought of one more thing. The Nuva tablets you get to have, which looks more which kind of plays Chronicle-ish with the Borak Hal saga. Yeah. So from Toamata versus Makuta Pterodax to Toanova versus Borakal, that's the original saga. There isn't going to count the Rakshi attack because, if you know, the Rakshi attack was already taken from Mask of Light, distributed by Miramax Films, which transformed it into becoming which almost over the course of the years transformed it to a story that doesn't sound like Bionicle at all. It kind of sounds like its own, very frightening, kind of plays more somber, kind of plays with a somber, dramatic, emotional, change of heart element. A change of heart because of the fact that you know in the Metronome Saga the other Toa do regret at thinking their ways will be easy without Vakama, but then telling little do they know they were wrong. So that wraps this story of 2001 to the beginning of 2003. You know the idea from the Rakshi stuff since I did the Mask of Light review. I want to say I'm kind of missing Ignition Lock signing off.